The first sign wasn't a speech. It wasn't a headline. It was paperwork. A quiet legal document, passed late at night, expanding emergency powers that almost no one read. No tanks in the streets, no sirens, just a few extra paragraphs giving the state the right to act faster and explain later. Most people missed it, but governments didn't. They were already moving. Because here's the strange part. Across countries that publicly disagree on almost everything, the preparation looks eerily similar. Different flags, same instincts. And that raises a question most officials won't answer out loud. What are they getting ready for? Not a war you can point to on a map. Not a single crisis with a name. Something broader. Something systemic. Something that doesn't fit neatly into a press conference. Look closely, and the clues start stacking up. Banks, for example, keep announcing stress tests. That phrase sounds boring, technical, reassuring. But stress tests are not run for calm futures. They're designed around failure scenarios, sudden liquidity freezes, mass withdrawals, asset values collapsing all at once. In recent years, those scenarios have grown darker, faster, more interconnected. And here's the part rarely said. When banks fail stress tests, the solution is almost never to shrink the system. It's to centralize it further. Fewer institutions, more oversight, less room to move. That benefits someone. At the same time, governments have accelerated digital ID programs. Again, sold as convenience, efficiency, security, one login for everything. Taxes, healthcare, travel, banking. On paper, it's progress. In practice, it quietly solves a problem that only exists in unstable times: how to track, verify, and control populations at scale when trust breaks down. Digital IDs don't matter much when systems work. They matter a lot when they don't. And notice the timing. These systems aren't being tested slowly over decades. They're being rushed, harmonized, and integrated with payment infrastructure. Which brings us to money. Central bank digital currencies are still described as experimental, optional, years away. But the legal groundwork is being laid now. Pilot programs, emergency clauses, technical partnerships with payment providers and telecom companies. CBDCs aren't just new money. They're programmable money. Money that can be paused, redirected, expired. Money that behaves differently under stress. Ask yourself a simple question. Why would governments need money that can be switched off instantly? The official answer is crime prevention, fraud, terrorism. The unofficial answer lives in history. Every major social fracture, wars, depressions, currency collapses, creates the same problem for those in charge. People move their money. People panic. People stop believing. Programmable money doesn't prevent crises. It manages the population during them. And while this is happening in finance, something else is happening quietly in defense departments. Military recruitment numbers are rising, not always in raw enlistment, but in budget allocation. Expanded reserve forces, faster mobilization frameworks, updated conscription laws that haven't been used in decades, suddenly revised and modernized. This isn't preparation for one battlefield. It's preparation for sustained instability, because modern crises don't stay contained. Energy shortages turn into political unrest. Economic shocks turn into border pressure. Food inflation turns into riots faster than any ideology ever did, which is why food and energy stockpiling has returned. Not publicly celebrated, not dramatized. Governments are securing grain reserves, strategic fuel stockpiles, rare earth minerals, fertilizer supply chains. These are not short-term hedges. These are preparations for prolonged disruption. Here's the uncomfortable pattern. None of these actions make sense if leaders believe the future will be mostly stable. All of them make sense if they believe volatility is the new baseline. And notice what's missing from official messaging. There's no single warning, no unified explanation, because saying the truth plainly would cause the very thing they fear most: loss of confidence. Confidence is fragile. It's the invisible currency holding modern systems together. When people believe tomorrow will resemble today, they comply, consume, and stay calm. When they don't, systems move fast. So instead, governments fragment the truth. They frame each move as isolated, technical, boring, necessary for resilience. Resilience is the word they use when they don't want to say shock. And history tells us something important here. Elites rarely prepare because they know the exact event. They prepare because they know the system's weak points. In the late Roman Empire, grain controls tightened before the empire officially admitted decline. Before major revolts, emergency laws expanded. Before currencies failed, mints quietly changed metal content. The pattern isn't prediction, it's insurance. Who benefits from this preparation? Those closest to power gain flexibility, control, optionality. The ability to act quickly while others are constrained by rules that didn't exist before. Who loses? Ordinary people who experience these changes only after they're normalized, when emergency measures become permanent, when temporary tracking becomes default, when financial safeguards limit choice. And who stays silent? Most institutions, corporations integrated into the system, media outlets dependent on access. Silence isn't always censorship. Sometimes it's alignment. This doesn't mean catastrophe is guaranteed. It means the people with the most information are hedging against outcomes they don't fully trust themselves to manage. And that should make you pause. Because if leaders truly believed their own optimism, they wouldn't need this much control infrastructure waiting in the wings. They wouldn't need money that can be frozen by code. They wouldn't need laws that bypass debate. They wouldn't need armies structured for domestic logistics as much as foreign conflict. Preparation reveals belief more honestly than speeches ever could. So, when you hear that everything is under control, remember this. Control is built before it's needed, not after. The unsettling thought isn't that something specific is coming. It's that those in charge no longer believe stability is normal. And once that belief changes, the world doesn't break all at once. It tightens. Quietly, legally, permanently. The real question isn't what they're preparing for. It's whether you're supposed to notice at all.